Welcome to Solace Counseling and Consulting's 10th anniversary live event. We have had a few technical difficulties today, but we are hopefully live and streaming across all of our platforms. We have several different platforms here for Solace, including Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So hopefully, we have those who are going to join us today. This is an opportunity for us to just share and celebrate 10 years of Solace Counseling, giving back to the community. And so we are doing live events for the month of September. Every Sunday night at 6 p.m., we're going to offer a different topic based discussion where we talk to those who would write in, those who would share their thoughts with us. This week, our topic is celebrating life from surviving to thriving. I am encouraged that Solace has continued to grow in the 10 years since I launched it. When I started Solace Counseling, I envisioned it becoming a holistic wellness practice based on my vocational path of integrating theology and psychology. And so, in the time that I have been working with clients and working with organizations and churches, I believe I have grown personally, and I know that Solace as a practice has grown tremendously. When we first started, this particular practice partnered with Hopewell Missionary Baptist Church and provided counseling services to its members in the community. We were able to set up office there and help train others as well as provide counseling services. And over the course of the 10 years, we have grown in our outreach and grown in our ability to share more messages of empowerment with larger groups. Along the way, we've added a journal series of books. We have now a series of four different journals, one um, for men, for women, for college students, and for teens. Our journal series is called Brain Dump for the Busy. And so we have those out and available on Amazon. And so we've added that to what we do to kind of making sure that people have what they need to be successful. And then in the last 2 years, we added a podcast called the Theotherapist Podcast. And there I interview other theotherapists who are engaged and passionate about the integration of theology and psychology. And so this gives us an opportunity to continue our reach in the world. One of the things we added this year is that we now do church trainings. We go to different churches and train their leadership staff on ways to better serve and care for members and the community who may be struggling with mental health challenges. And so Solace is continuing to emerge and grow as a holistic mental wellness practice. And I am thrilled to see how it's expanding. You can always visit us on our website at seeksolacenow.com. We also have the theotherapist.com that you can visit as well. I know we have people who will come in throughout the day and so throughout the live. So I'm glad to see those of you who are coming. Uh, One of the things I also would encourage you to do is to like, subscribe, and share. That will be really helpful to us if you could like, subscribe, and share with your friends about Solace and all the different things we're doing on our social media platforms. I want to start off with a kudos to our digital marketer, our digital marketing staff person, Jada Little, who is phenomenal at our social media. And she has been really upping our social media game in the last few months. And so kudos to her. She's also producing today's live event. So good job, Jada. And as I like to say, Jadakiss, you're on it. And so, why are we doing lives? Why are we doing this series? I think it's important to always look for opportunities to give back. And we couldn't think of a better way to celebrate Solace's anniversary than to give back. And so, this series called Empower You gives us an opportunity to share some topics and some titles that we think would be helpful to others. Uh, the topic today, Celebrate Life, comes from just taking a moment to reflect on all the things that are happening in our world right now, in our local communities, and in our nation. I live in a suburb of Atlanta, and if you are familiar, in the last week, there was yet another school shooting. And with that school shooting, it was a situation where it's only about 50 miles from where I am, and all school shootings are touching, and they all touch us, and they affect us in a major way. And this one even more so because, as a person who's been in youth ministry for about 25 years, that easily could have been a kid I knew. And so, those are some of the things that we're struggling with, is trying to find ways to make sure that we are caring for ourselves, but also choosing to celebrate life, simply because there are too many things that compete and try to get us to focus on just surviving life, not really living life. I know the political landscape is a little hectic right now in our country. Also, people are dealing with grief and loss. There's financial uncertainty and insecurity. There's relationship conflict. There are people who are cutting off relationships. So there's so many things coming at us in this time frame that I think it's important for us to focus on what does it mean to celebrate life, and what will it take to kind of get out of this slump, or get out of some of the emotions and things that we're dealing with, so that we can actually celebrate life. And so that's what we're having. We're having a open, honest dialogue conversation. One of the things that I'm hoping today is that I get a chance to hear from some people I haven't heard from before, and that we get a chance to share in some ways that we haven't had an opportunity to do before. This conversation is being recorded, and so I look forward to sharing it on all of our platforms. Thank you. Millicent Parker has joined us in the chat. She is offering congratulations to us. Millicent is definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite, staff member that has joined Solace over the years. And she happens to be my best friend. So, I'm a little biased, but she's a phenomenal therapist, and she has definitely contributed a lot to Solace's success. So, thank you for joining us, and thank you for the congratulations. So, what's happening in our world affects us all. I think it's important for us to have some dialogue around that, because oftentimes we just kind of go through life. We just do what we're supposed to do. We go out, we make a living in some form or fashion. We come home, take care of those that are significant to us or that we love and care about. We go to sleep, we get up, and we do the same thing the next day. And to me, that's more of a surviving mindset. It is, let me just make it through this day. Let me just make it through this week. Let me just make it through this month. But the challenge with that is we're not really enjoying the journey sometimes. We are literally just trying to put one foot in front of the other. And that's the survival mindset. That survival mindset is a protective factor. It's one of those things that we have created as a way to kind of keep us from getting too high or too low sometimes. And in that survival mindset, it can become habit forming, simply because you're in a space where you are in a routine. You're doing the same things over and over again, but you're doing that so that you can have some sense of predictability. Even if that predictability is chaotic, you know what to predict in that chaos. And so that survival mindset can come from lots of places. It can come from past trauma. It can come from repeated disappointments. It can come from unstable environments and unstable relationships. But it is important to recognize and acknowledge if that's what you think you might be living in, a survival based mindset. Surviving is an instinct, it's natural. It is just as natural as breathing. You are hard coded to survive. Survive in any situation where you might potentially be at threat. The challenge, though, is sometimes it can be habit forming as a mindset. You can get so hunkered down, so captured, that you're just bracing for life. That's all you're doing, is trying to brace. And so One of the things that I encourage people to do is to really take stock, to really acknowledge, like, what's going on with me? Am I just surviving? Am I just in a mindset where I am not looking for anything to get better? I'm just trying to get through, because that's a survival based mindset. Sometimes that survival based mindset also kind of keeps us from feeling great joy. Like, it might look like a lack of motivation, it might look like a lack of drive. Sometimes being in that survival based mindset, um, you won't allow yourself to relax. You end up hyper vigilant, always waiting for the next shoe to drop or for the next bad thing to happen, because you're just in this fear mode. You're in this let me protect myself mode. But one, that's not sustainable. And two, there is no joy in functioning that way. Well, I want to pause here. I know we do have one person who is with us. One person, if you could, do you have any questions? I know we're just starting out. Hopefully, we're going to get some more people who are going to jump in. But I want to find out if anyone has a question before I kind of go forward, because this is a Q and A, by the way, for the day. This is a Q and A. Okay. Well, while they're working through that, let me go ahead and talk a little bit more about kind of facing adversity. When we start thinking about survival, typically it's because something's coming at us. There's something that feels adversarial, whether it's too many bills and too little time, or not enough finances. Sometimes it's a relationship dynamic. Sometimes it can be you are actually in a physically threatening situation, and that adversarial thing has us in a mindset that, I'm not thinking about growing. I'm not thinking about going beyond this. I just want to survive it. I just want to make it through it. And if you're in a dangerous situation, absolutely, that's what you do. You want to get safe first. Safety is always first. But once you're in a physically safe space and an emotionally safe space, do you want to move beyond that? Are you willing to have the courage to move beyond that? That's one of the things that I think is worth talking about. For those of us who look at the biblical text has this notion of flourishing, that our goal is to flourish. That God sees more in us than the state that we're in, that God sees us in this kind of continual process of growing and flourishing and becoming something else. And so the state and the environment we're in now is not our optimal environment. It's not who we will become, it's just kind of where we are. And so, um, to get to this space of flourishing, it requires that we do some stretching, that we go beyond ourselves and we stretch to a new space. And so I'm curious, is flourishing something that has taken hold of you, this notion of flourishing? Is there something in you saying that there's more than this? I've got to push toward more than this, because that's going to be the key to getting beyond where you are and celebrating life. There are lots of ways to celebrate life. Celebrating life is not necessarily, Lifetime movie, Hallmark movie, rom com. Celebrating life is being authentic, being true to yourself, being intentional about the things that bring you joy, the things that nourish your soul, the things that are life giving to you. That's what thriving looks like. And it walks alongside flourishing. To thrive literally means to go beyond existing to being intentional and purposeful with the way that you're living. And I believe that we all have the capacity to do it, but it does take some work. And so, as we continue to share information throughout this month, my hope is that you'll work on embracing more of a thriving mindset. If you have been someone that's been focused on just making it through, that maybe you'll get a little bit curious about what it would take to go to the next level. So, if growth for me looks like being able to accept myself for who I am, being able to accept the things that I actually do have some control to change, and being able to let the rest go, to embrace the things that I see as a potential for me, and to have the courage to try to get to those things. My hope is that that's your goal, that you'll continue to try to embrace the things that are next. Some people, ask me, so how do I get there? What is the thing to do? And I'm not giving advice here. That's not what we're here to do. This is not professional advice. Disclaimer, I am just offering some thoughts and some opinions. One, if you're having trouble getting out of the survival mindset by yourself, I encourage you to find professional help. Find someone who has training at helping people navigate what that looks like. If it's not me, find someone else that feels like they're a good fit for you and walk that journey to kind of coming out of where you are. Beyond professional help, there are things you can do within yourself. There's a mindset shift that has to happen. One, you have to believe that there is more to your life than this, that you were created with more purpose than what you're going through, right? And once you believe that, then you can start to put some things in place to help you get there. You can make a decision that I'm not going to let these circumstances define who I am. These circumstances are just the stepping stones to get me to where I want to be. And if I think about who my authentic self is, I can start walking that way. I might not get there tomorrow, but I can start walking that way. And I know if I walk that way, at least I'm going to be in a better place than I am right now because this doesn't feel great. It's also being able to navigate your self talk. One of the things that I tell folks all the time is what you tell yourself sticks. You have to be very careful with the self messages that you tell yourself. If you tell yourself you can't do it long enough, guess what? You absolutely can't do it. If you tell yourself long enough, it'll never work, well, you might be sabotaging yourself. It might not work. I encourage you to use positive self statements, statements that remind you that I can go beyond this. I can get beyond this. It won't always be this way. This is not what I was created for. This is not all there is to my life. And the more that you use positive self statements and you back that up with an action plan and some work, you'll find eventually that you're not where you were. Things won't be the same. I have a good question here. How can we encourage our children to keep trying and to try new things? As someone who's worked with kids, like I said, for about 25 years, one of the ways that I talk to youth about stretching themselves and going beyond is I ask them a few questions. The first question I usually ask is, so what's the worst case scenario? So it's the worst case scenario. You do something, you maybe end up a little embarrassed, and then you find out that's not your thing. Okay, I get it. Some people want to avoid embarrassment, but you learn something about yourself, and that thing could have worked. And so what you've learned is this may not be what I want to do, but maybe I want to do this other thing. And so, one, take off the table that fear of what someone else thinks. The other questions I ask is if no one was watching, what would you do? Like, would you try this thing if you weren't worried about how somebody else would see it or view it? And if you would, go for it. Go for it with everything that's in you. Because at the end of the day, those people won't be around when you do it and you do it right and you do it well. So, first, what's stopping you? Second, if you would do it when nobody's around, go ahead and push for it. Give it a shot. I happen to be a person myself who has tried things that other people thought were a little bit off. But for me, if I felt like, I want to know what this experience is like, then to me, it's about having the courage to at least see what this experience is like. You know, I think that's the thing that I try to encourage youth to get into is having the courage to get beyond what other people think. And if they can get that knocked down in their teenage years, they are going to be phenomenal adults because so many adults still struggle with getting beyond what other people think. But thank you for that question. I think that was an awesome question. I appreciate that. I want you guys to tune in with us each week in the month of September. We're going to have different topics that are meant to help empower you in different ways. We're not offering lectures. We're simply having open conversations and dialogues. We're hoping that you'll join us each week. Next week, we're talking about the topic grow up. Not in the sarcastic way, but basically grow up. Stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone. We're going to talk about what that looks like. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this particular live event and all of our information. Visit all of our anniversary activities at seeksolace.now.com/anniversary. There you'll find out about all of the different live events we have coming up. You'll also find out more information about our history, and there'll be a timeline video on there. We have some great contests coming up this month. We're going to be giving away a journal. And I believe before the end of the month, we're actually going to give away one of our trainings. So make sure that you share our information and join us again next time. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you so much. Have an awesome Sunday evening and have a great week. Take care of yourself and be well.